This is the moment I live for, and I know it's the moment my clients will never forget. It's the moment the client gets to see their home for the first time. This is after we finished building the home, and now we've also furnished it. We welcome you to see what they see when they arrive, and this is the reveal. Welcome to Wolf Creek Ranch. This is unbelievable. It spreads from a beautiful home to a garage, a boat garage, a guest house, a hunting lodge, and an art studio. Not to mention a small lake with a bridge. This place is magical. Come on in and you will see a more Adirondack style of living here in the West. And that was the family's goal when they called me. Thank goodness they called. I love doing every piece of this house, and luckily I was involved right from the beginning. It took us about 3 years when we started with the plans and then the build and then all of the finishes. I'm so grateful for the feelings I get when you just come right through the front door. As always, they should really tell the whole story of the house. You can see all the natural beams, the patina, the rusticity, and then we have the formality of the limestone. That was the request. They wanted rugged elegance. I completely remember when the architect suggested that we leave an open space here, and I get it because we wanted to look over to the stairs and see a window to the artwork over in that direction. But I thought, what in the world will I put on this space? And then I found this old iron deer, which really related to the art piece that we have over our entry console. This is the kind of artwork that the house is filled with. Meaningful scenes that they love to look at. And of course, a deer hunter would really appreciate this piece. When you look at the rustic chandelier in the ceiling, it's an old wagon wheel with all of the Edison bulbs. It's subtle, it is not fancy. And right next to it, you have all the fancyments and all the artwork. It's that collision of the rustic and the elegant that makes it so interesting. As we walk through the house, you're going to notice more texture than ever. I'm talking about added things like animal hides, animal heads. We have a hunter here, and he knew that it was a stretch for me, but I loved involving the things that he loved into this house. So this is the magical great room. You can see ridiculously high ceilings, lots of real natural wood that is not stained or painted. It's actually reclaimed. And this is our bar area, which had to be a part of the great room. This allows us to have a pub style experience over here and drag right into the comfortable sofas after. You can see that I love rugs, and I guess I talk about that all the time, but this client enabled me to layer the rugs. We could not get rugs big enough for this house, so I had to layer these rugs. I love the antiquities that I found in the 3 years that we collected before the house was finished. You can see them show up in the lamps in the house, some of the vintage pillows that have old rugs they're made of. I had the time of my life figuring out how we could integrate timbers, rustic and round, that really are the architectural heart of the home, mixed with our white oaks. And you know I love the white oak flooring too. Adjacent to the great room is my favorite room in the house. It's the dining. And what I love about it is how grand it is, how cozy it is. It's a room all of its own. I wanted it to feel elegant. This is the room where I added a little more to the beauty here. This is a complete collection of antiquities. I think I always mention Atlanta when I talk about antiques, and that's where I find a lot of my favorite things. You can see I just shoved them up informally, and that's how it looks less conjured up. It seems real when it's not so perfect. I love the long table, and can you believe it? This can stretch out to include 22 people at the dining table. That's what this family needed. This is a collection here of bamboo mirrors. Again, something, you know, when you're doing accessories for home like this, you really have to think about accessorizing all along the way. It's not like you can just go out and find things. This has to be a hunt, and I loved participating. Let's go to the kitchen, which is the heart of this home. You'll see darker tones, richer finishes. This is actually a granite countertop. We know they're super hardy, but we don't always love the busyness of our granites. This, however, was leathered, so you don't really come into play with that salt and pepper texture that we get from granite. Instead, it looks like a solid, cool, dark finish that has forgiveness to it as a family uses it. I love these light fixtures. You might remember from another story of mine, these are the Mac, my favorite light fixture. It wasn't easy to find an antique one of these babies, but we had to have one because they actually do cook pizza in this pizza oven, and I have been served. So designing this in this space was an afterthought, and it was a bit of a chore. But you can't imagine how good that pizza is, and this is a family that really uses it. You could see the hood is a limestone hood, and that is really a special component to the kitchen. It's very warming, and it makes you feel like you're in the hearth of the home. This is celebrated with old roof tiles for the backsplash that are charcoal and used and old. Even though we have all of these rustic finishes, we have lines of elegance that you see are employed here with the moldings that are on this limestone fireplace. That's the secret. That mix of the rugged and the elegance is what makes it interesting. I know it's hard to find the fridge in this place. That is, of course, my goal. We love to hide it behind wood panels so it blends and we don't see a bunch of stainless steel. I think this is one of the best attributes of the kitchen. Of course, rugs everywhere. We went with white oak that was already wire brushed so that we could have texture. And again, meet the house halfway, knowing that this is an heirloom home, one that they'll pass on to their generations. We wanted it to start out looking like it's been here for a long time. We've got a huge pantry. I love a butler's pantry. Whole thing is the butler's pantry, but everything's about the lighting for me. Again, these are unique and these are full of integrity. This is actually the hearth room adjacent to the kitchen, and you can see it's more of a coffee cup space. They sit, work on their computers, and have this roaring fire really close to the exterior. You can see that the walls in this house are not just painted drywall. This is a Venetian plaster that is very soothing, smoothed out, and sort of joins. In the ceiling, you can see how the plaster allows for those beams to connect in the ceiling rather than just paint on drywall. Coming down the hall, we see all the bathroom and bedroom suites. This is our first. Again, we employed the beams in the ceiling, gave this rustic fireplace design. We had to be very careful in this room because when you walk in, that hearth is almost in your way. But I think we still achieved the bulk and the integrity we were looking for by taking the stone all the way up to the ceiling. I love this rugged mantel shelf made out of one piece of stone. We put the TV craftily in this hydraulic lift TV hutch. So when you walk in, you're not having to look at a TV above the fireplace. Throughout the home, I wanted to have a feeling of authenticity once again. on all of the bedding. It had to be real linen and high quality so that when their guests arrived, they felt like they were entering kind of a boutique hotel experience. That was important to the client as well, as they have 4 children coming on all the holidays. Let's go see the bathroom. Gosh, this is one of maybe 6 bathrooms in the house. They're all designed differently. I wanted it to feel like a different experience in every bathroom. But overall, we went with solid stone countertops, real natural wood, a lighting effect, some interest on the mirrors, and always rugs that are not typical in a bathroom. The other thing you'll find in every bathroom is a bathtub. This is the one we decided to put up on the platform, and really I made that decision in the middle of the process because I wanted to be able to look out that window and see the amazing forest right outside that window. And instead of having a regular closet, we designed this as the closet itself so that we didn't have to have regular big closet doors and drywall. So I think this is a much better way to go, if you can. Well, you'll see the art theme once again here. I went crazy when I saw this old Indian with paper tears. It's a mixed medium, and look at the handmade rusted framing on this thing. I did not ask permission for this piece. I just thought it's got to be here. Thankfully, they loved it. And of course, it was really cool up against this rustic reclaimed wall. We're heading upstairs to a few more bedroom suites. Here is one of the bedroom suites. All of the bedrooms were meant to feel equal and of the same level because it's their children enjoying. This is a favorite bedroom. It's got the old iron bed, the beautiful bed linens with lace. You can see a leather sofa with tufting, an old antique vintage chair. I love the texture of that. I love being in these spaces that are just merging with wood, different colors. I forgive all of the gray mixed with the browns and the oranges. It all comes together so well with the use of the timbers and the variety of color that they have. Okay, we're in the kids' playroom. It's meant to be comfortable. This is a little bit of a sectional that we just barely fit into this space. What made it interesting was all of this wood on the back wall, which is actually a product called stickwood, and it's very thin. You can use it with adhesive on the back and just stick it on your walls, and it made such a difference. It was a really good backdrop for the birds on the wire art. You can see the sconces are unique. They're a style from the past, but they're new. I love the way they hang off the wall rather than using lamps. Now, for the kids that are watching the TV, we also needed to be very clever and hide a pipe that was going up through this floor. So behind this space right here is actually a flue coming up from the downstairs fireplace. So working around that, we were able to fit a space for the television, and without you even knowing it, we've hidden the flue and have bookshelves. The game table was another story. I started with finding the old base that you see here that actually corkscrews and raises and lowers. We added a vintage piece of wood on top, and I did a drop leaf so that we could hug it next to the wall when we're not playing games and add to the space that this room really needs to have when all of the kids are playing. I want to point out the rug. I cannot believe we found a rug with these beautiful colors. These are my colors, and it's just really a feat to find antique rugs that have the color tones that I'm looking for. The collection, again, started at the start of my job. Adjacent to the playroom, the bunk room. And I think we can sleep 4 kids in here. It's stuffed to the brim, but it's cozy. We wanted them to feel like they were luxurious too, even though they were children. You can see the bedding is cool. We used these big bolsters to make it fun at the bottom of the bed. And in case they all end up on the floor, they can be cozy. We took nickel board and put it all over the walls and the ceiling and mixed the connection with the timber beams and the cleaner wood, making it again rustic and elegant. Another little hot spot is the bathroom. We all know that when we have a bunk room, we often have a trough sink. We imagine children using it all at the same time. So you can see the very interesting faucetry that we use that reminds you of maybe outdoor plumbing, and a concrete countertop filled with a large rectangle sink. The idea is to feel playful, rustic, soft, warm, and non-destructible. It's hard to say that I have a favorite room, but if I were picking a bedroom, I think this is my choice because it is so light and soft. You can see that we still had a timber in the ceiling to work with, and we wanted to have that rusticity, but I love the refinement. Even with these drapes just blowing in the wind. We have the real blinds hidden in there for blackout, but I had to have the dusting of this white drape. Right next to the white bedroom is this very textural bathroom. We tried to mix it up a little bit. You'll see some things that are kind of unusual. Like for instance, the mirror isn't directly above the sink. It crosses over. I don't know, I feel like it was a bit of the unexpected that made it charming and looking like a little more of an eclectic ingredient in this house. We designed something that had a little bit of edge to it, but was something we'd never seen before. Again, artwork everywhere and a wine cellar down here. Of course, the idea is to lounge and have fun. We were able to bring the beams back down here. Why? Because they're real. They're what's holding up these ceilings. This is our family room. I love bringing in the leather sofas that are warm and rich, and then I threw in a little pattern and color. I love the way this whole space feels, but let me tell you the challenge. Getting this piece of furniture in the room was hard. You can see how large our TV screen is. So the piece had to be this big, but getting it to fit in here, look how close I came to the ceiling. Almost a mistake. I love how this fireplace goes to and fro on this wall. When we designed this, we wanted these huge chunks of rock. We felt that this needed to add up to the weight of the timbers in the ceiling. Most of the time when people say I want a pool table, in my mind comes those slick pool tables that are just the kinds you see everywhere with the hunter green top, and they nearly verge on tacky. So we custom designed this billiard table and added a soft color for the felt on top. And then we decided to custom design the cue holder as well so that it all went with the story of the home. You can see this big, huge burlap billiard light that is, again, not really calling a lot of attention to itself, blending in with the nature of the home, and this braided leather throughout, seaming it together is pretty amazing. We surrounded this whole room with reclaimed wood. That was the story, that was our palette. Reclaimed wood, white oak flooring, timbers, limestone, stone of any kind, leather, and wonderful succulent fabrics. Okay, this is truly elegant. We went with mirror all over the walls behind the vanity, layered another mirror on top of mirror, did a beautiful open style vanity with a limestone vessel. And of course, this wall covering kills me. You'll see throughout the whole bathroom, we've used a cork wallpaper with a metallic underneath. We're a little more fancy in here, and it feels good in this rustic atmosphere. I love that we get to walk through all of this beauty as we go to our master every day. On our way to the master is the office. Let's go see. So this is not your everyday office. This is a room that's supposed to give a feel for what really goes on with these people, and they love outdoors. So you're going to see a fly fishing table that I had to create and really learn so that I could create what is needed. It's actually on casters. They roll it into the living room and they all work on flies. Pretty amazing. I ended up putting leather in the ceiling in this office to add to the integrity and the truth of what surrounds this home and what they love. We've got animal hide here, antique rugs, just a lot of texture and some beautiful artwork. When I say rugged elegance, this is where the elegance happens. You can see the antique vintage chandelier. You can see the wall covering that's a floral, but not too pretty, but refined. You can see gold framed artwork. This room is meant to feel feminine, and this is definitely the master suite. Another piece here that I collected that is old and vintage. Again, I love the art when it involves birds. I guess I'm a bird fan. I love the way I feel in here with the fireplace. And you can see we utilize the same limestone as in the kitchen, but then we put a refined and more beautiful fireplace. Not as rugged, a little more elegant. We've got rugs layered all over the floor. And again, the most beautiful bedding in here because it's the master. You can see we added the lace throw on top. I just love that the man that lives here is tolerant of these beautiful things and recognizes that this is part of what makes it succulent and soft and inviting. The hardwood floors that I chose for this house are actually circle sawn white oak. And as you look at it, you can see this texture and the circling. I wanted it to be especially enduring and also look to have stood the test of time. Texture as well. And of course, adding these elegant rugs on top of that is a cool merge. Plaster on these walls, and then we're in to the master bath. It all started with this bathtub. This is a solid stone bathtub that is just like the most elegant shape, extra wide, and works for two people. We have beautiful rugs on the floor, and then a lovely shower that has the stone bench that I love to put in for just sitting down for a brief moment, but this is actually a steam shower. You can see that we did an exposed shower head in there that's really more similar to what you'd find in the olden days. When it comes to working with timbers all over a master bath, it isn't easy. So we did things like this. This is the makeup bureau. But if you look closely, oh my gosh, we actually had to cut into the timbers. This is what it takes, a lot of artisanship on these kinds of homes. We've got double vanities, of course, limestone, beautiful sconces, but the impact in this bathroom is clearly about the timbers. This is actually a laundry room. Out here, before I open the doors, it's a craft room. This is where she does art with the grandchildren. This is where we wrap presents and see what we've got, ribbons and cards and wrapping paper. And then these doors open and we have a washer and dryer. These are pocket doors. Can you believe we even went as far as using a piece of art inside the washer and dryer area? There's no place in this home we didn't try to make practical still look beautiful. One last stop is the powder bath just as you come in from the garage. I love the textures in here. We decided to go with pendants that are hung by ropes. You'll even pick up on all of this chevron wood flooring in this bathroom. I wanted these two rooms to feel more rustic, more used, and they will be. After all, it's the mudroom, the laundry room, and the craft room. ranch like this is meant for a large family to enjoy, possibly even during the holidays. And that's when we did the reveal. It was the day before Christmas. It's always conjured up a feeling of family here. And there's more. Stay tuned for another episode when we explore the hunting lodge, the guest house, and the art studio. I'm Anne Marie Barton for The Reveal.